The radical change in US policy towards Myanmar is a perfect reminder that one of the primary adversaries of humanity has no right to be preaching about democracy, rule of law, and legality. Yes, we're talking about the US. Hi, and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host, Atul Mishra, in his full Hindu glory. Let's begin. On 1st February, Myanmar's military toppled the democratically elected regime of Aung San Suu Kyi in a coup. Following the coup in Myanmar, the US government condemned the Burmese military, while the Biden administration imposed sanctions on people and entities associated with the new military regime. Washington also pledged that it will hold Myanmar's junta accountable and push for the release of Suu Kyi and Mint. Continuing its stance on the political situation in Myanmar, in February last year, the US imposed more sanctions on the junta regime. The US also announced that it will hold Myanmar's military responsible for violence against the Rohingya community. In addition to filing a case against Myanmar's regime in the International Court of Justice under the Genocide Convention, the US also advocated a UN General Assembly resolution barring the flow of arms into Myanmar. However, on 27th January, there was a sudden shift in the US policy with regard to Myanmar. A Japanese construction firm was given an exemption by the Biden administration to make payments to a Myanmar military-owned company, according to a Japanese official. The financial transaction relates to work on a Japanese government-funded bridge in Myanmar's commercial hub of Yangon. An official from the Japanese Foreign Ministry confirmed that Yokogawa Bridge Corporation had discussed the project with the Biden administration. The US granting an exemption to a company of its ally Japan so that it can do business with an entity associated with Myanmar's military government is very unusual, as earlier the US was one of the harshest critics of Myanmar. In addition to imposing sanctions on Naypyidaw, the Biden administration also vowed that it would prosecute Myanmar's military leaders in the International Court of Justice. So what made the US change its stance on Myanmar all of a sudden? Is there any vested interest of Washington in the South Asian country? Yes, there is, and it is Russia. In the wake of the coup and subsequent Western ostracization, the Myanmar junta established good relations with Russia. Russia got another purchaser of its advanced weaponry in the backdrop of the West's sanctions. Myanmar's ruler, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, in addition to visiting Russia thrice, also supported Russia's military operation in Ukraine. Myanmar is also a buyer of Russian oil and recently signed an agreement with Moscow to explore nuclear energy in the Southeast Asian country. Similarly, Myanmar was also invited to become a part of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which includes Russia and India. Now, Biden is witnessing that his atrocious plan to destroy the diplomatic, political, and economic interests of Myanmar has backfired, as it ended up establishing a strong partnership between Myanmar and US's chief adversary, Russia. Therefore, in order to break the alliance between Moscow and Naypyidaw, the US has now deployed its ally Japan to further its agenda. The US cannot directly grant financial aid to Myanmar's junta because then it will be obvious that Biden is endeavoring to counter the presence of Russia in Southeast Asia. So the US has approached Japan to bribe Myanmar into switching its loyalty to the West. It must be noted that this is the same US which earlier was preaching about the significance of democracy in Myanmar and pledged that it will prosecute the Burmese military leaders. However, in the face of the diplomatic, economic, and political rise of Russia and Myanmar, the US has abandoned all principles of morality and is ready to embrace Myanmar's junta.